Episode 282. Even if I lose everything, I will still be the biggest winner. Cox Enterprises had developed rapidly in the recent years, not only because there was solid support behind its back, but also because of their famous architectural design. The news that the Robinson Group had decided to cooperate with Cox Enterprises shocked half of the city. Even Spencer herself felt very surprised. But business was business. She had no reason not to accept it. However, what shocked her more was the fact that Serena actually talked to her in person. Serena Robinson made an appointment to see Spencer at the Star City, taking Vanessa, her bodyguard, and her assistant with her. Serena's assistant, Brooke, too followed Serena quietly, holding a bunch of documents. She once again seen Spencer and was still frightened by her face. It was obviously a face that had gone through plastic surgeries. Despite the heavy makeup, the stiffness of her face could not be hidden. However, after years of practice, she had learned how to put on a mask. The discussion with Spencer Cox continued from 2 to 5 in the afternoon. After talking for a long time, Serena suddenly asked, "Do you know how to play baccarat?" Spencer seemed a little surprised and nodded. "A little. I did not expect that you asked me to meet you here in order to play baccarat with me." "Yeah. It has been a long time since I last played. My hands are itchy." "You know how to play?" Spencer looked at her with half a smile. Serena's eyes suddenly became sharp. Looking back at her, she asked, "How do you know that I don't?" Spencer looked honest and said, "I have never heard of President Serena going to a casino. It's just unexpected." "Oh." Serena lightly smiled and said ambiguously, "I thought you knew me before. It seems that I have read into things." Spencer laughed. "I used to be an employee of a small company. Because the boss's wife was afraid that I would seduce her husband, my boss fired me," she said, looking at Serena and touching her own face. "Don't look at this face now. I used to be beautiful." Listening to this, Serena's heart raced even more, and her hand under the table shrank on her thigh. Was this Spencer reminding her of something? Serena felt it was more and more likely that this woman was in fact Lila Cox. But where was the evidence? Serena almost asked her directly, "Are you Lila Cox? Where did you hide my husband?" In the back, Vanessa reached out and put both hands on her shoulder. Serena became a bit stiff and then calmed down. Looking at Spencer, she smiled. "You are very beautiful now as well. But it seems that Miss Cox is not confident enough and wears too much makeup. If you were to remove some of it, you might look even better. I happen to be an expert in this area. Can I fix it for you?" Spencer touched her face and smiled happily. "That's very sweet of you, but there's no need. Don't you want to play baccarat? Let's go." Serena did not insist, stood up and let Spencer lead the way. She secretly made a gesture to Vanessa. Keep an eye on her. Her bodyguard obviously did not respond but kept it in her mind. Serena brought an assistant and a bodyguard along with her. They were with her at times and it definitely looked like she had a bigger entourage. But for some reason, there was a sense of crisis in her heart. Spencer let the assistant Brooke get the chips and raised her long straight eyebrows. "Banker or player?" "Banker." Serena did not hesitate. She took the chips handed over by Brooke and put them down. "So much?" Spencer raised her eyebrows, catching the attention of a lot of people with her curvy body. Many people had almost stared their eyes out. In the first round, the player won. In the second round, the third round, until the 7th round, the player had been winning. Spencer shook her head and looked at Serena worriedly. She lamented. "It is better for you to bet on the player. You have been losing so much money. What a pity." The Robinson Group can afford to lose this kind of money. Serena did not look bitter at all after losing the money, but instead she smiled very brightly. "How many chips do we have?" "1 million, Brooke answered. "You have lost $1 million in such a short while. The Robinson Group is indeed very rich," Spencer admired. "I can't afford to lose so much, coming from a small company. Indeed, if Cox Enterprises' strength was the same as how it was represented, Then too, I would be very careful about losing that kind of money. Serena looked at her, slightly raising her eyebrows, and said indifferently, "The last round? All in. Banker pair." Brooke felt a bit scared, but did as told. "Miss Cox, you've won so much. Will you play with me?" Spencer heard that, narrowed her eyes, and nodded. "All right, 1 million it is." She had indeed won a lot, so 1 million was not a real concern at this point. The dealer began to deal. The banker, 9 points, the player, 7 points. Brooke couldn't help getting excited, letting out a small cry seeing the stack of chips. Spencer's expression changed slightly. Serena raised her eyebrows and smiled. "Not bad. Even if I lose everything in the beginning, I will still be the biggest winner. Right, Miss Cox?" Spencer heard that and tightened her arms, which were leisurely crossed unconsciously. Maintaining a smile, she looked exactly the same. These small movements fell onto Serena's eyes and she blinked. Spencer was not happy and was pinching her own arms. Although she was trying to hold it back, old habits die hard. Whenever Lila was not happy, she liked to pinch her own arms. This was a small habit she had kept since Serena's previous lifetime. Coincidence? Serena was guessing randomly, but at that moment, there was no time for more thought. Not showing anything, Serena said with a bright smile to Brooke, "Please go change the chips and come back soon. More than 10 million. That is enough for us to treat Miss Cox to dinner." Then she looked at Spencer and said, "Do you have a place in mind?" "Well, since I'm the guest, it should be you who chooses the place." "Then let's have seafood, shall we?" "There's a wonderful place I know nearby." Serena smiled brightly. "A restaurant that will fit President Cox's stature. Let's go." Not leaving her any room to refuse, Serena reached out and put her hand on Spencer's shoulders. Spencer was a little scared and avoided it. As Serena looked at her weirdly, she explained, "I don't like it when other people touch my shoulder. I'm sorry." Such a coincidence. Lila Cox was the same way. Because when she was young, a caterpillar was put on her shoulder. It was not a big deal, but Lila had been traumatized since then. Moreover, Serena knew that Lila was allergic to seafood, and the repercussions of her eating fish was deadly.